Hi and welcome to Literary Hype. I am Stephanie, your Literary Hype Woman, and today's author conversation is one that I'm really excited about because I came about this a little bit backwards from how I normally find people to talk to. I usually read the book and then go into watching the show or movie, but this time a friend really recommended that I check out the show Silo, and I quickly became obsessed. And so of course I had to go back and start reading the books, and those books are Wool, Shift, and Dust. That is the main trilogy by Hugh Howey that the TV show on Apple TV is based on. So I got the chance to talk to Hugh at New York Comic Con, and we discussed the books, we discussed writing, we discussed season 2 and teeny tiny little details to look for in season 2. So without any further ado, here's my conversation with Hugh Howey. Welcome to Literary Hype. It's so exciting to have you on ahead of the season 2 of your books being turned into a TV show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
What's it like for you to see your books have this huge resurgence thanks to the show?
Crazy. When I was writing the first few years, you write not knowing if anyone's going to read it, other than your mom. And to have a book that over a decade later is still in bookstores and people are still discovering it. It's surreal. It's like beyond anything that I dreamed of when I started writing.
What was it like for you to see this show come to life and like what you dreamed up being acted out on the screen?
Honestly, it didn't make sense at first. I knew a lot was happening in the UK while I was over here. I worked in the writer's room. We had scripts, but I've seen scripts before. It doesn't mean it's real. And I heard people were building stuff in the UK and outside of London. I was like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. And then flying there for the first time and seeing this entire studio being transformed, and over 200 people working construction and design and paint and everything to make the sets. That was the first time I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. And walking into the main studio where the silo was being built, this 3-story tall, just one of the biggest sets and the people that worked on this show have ever worked on. That's when it hit me, like, oh my God, we're actually gonna make this.
Is there a detail on this set that you just really love?
I love the signage. There's one person Pippa, who had come up with all these amazing signs. So you'll see them in the background, a lot of the sets. About like turning off the lights to save power, and it has a very British kind of vibe, like this very stay calm kind of mood to it. Even you notice the maps in the background for the silo levels almost look like the London 2 maps, and so I love those little details.
So for anyone who hasn't seen the show, seen the trailer, read the books, what is the core of the story?
The core of the story is this group of people, the last of humanity, live underground, and they've been there so long, they have no idea how they got there. They don't know what the rest of the world is like. And so it's them trying to peel back this onion of conspiracy and this mysterious past that led them to this situation.
It's such a fascinating story and show. There are some little changes. Are there any changes to the show that you were like, I wish I would have thought of that?
Oh, so many. Because, I was just one person, writing alone. Now we've got dozens of great writers and all these other creatives. One thing that, this is kind of an accidental success. I wrote the short story, it was a standalone, and then the rest of the novel were like serialized short stories that came out after. So I didn't have a chance to put like Holston and Juliet in the room together in the book. So one of the things we get to do with the show is go do some flashbacks and show them working together. And that was like not only fan service, but like a service to me, just to get to see those characters interact.
What's your favorite character interaction on the show versus the book so far?
I think Bernard and Juliet, the relationship's much more nuanced. In the second season, there's a lot of stuff that didn't happen in the books that just seems something new. It's exciting for me. And that's where, I don't want a story that just, does a page by page translation. Like I want to tell the same, get the heart of the story right, get the characters right, and then let the story unfold in a slightly different way. So there's so many times that I'm seeing something between Lucas and Juliet that's not in the book. And I'm like, that's really cool. So I didn't have to come up with that.
so often fans get really upset when the show or the movie doesn't exactly follow the book. So talk a little bit about how different mediums affect this story in particular.
Yeah, I think I'm more relaxed with adaptations than a lot of other people and even fans. I'm a fan of other works that have different versions and different canon. I think it's great. It's how our stories are told. If you have my wife and I tell the story of the same thing that happened like yesterday, we have different versions of that, and both are true in some way. And this details otherwise. And I think storytelling really, got started with an oral tradition where we would sit around a campfire and I would tell a story and I would respond to the audience while I was telling it. And then someone in the audience would pick up that story and retell it years later in their own way. And this is how the first epics came about. The Iliad and the Odyssey and Circle Wayne and all these great old stories. So we're just kind of doing that today with comic books, especially here at Comic-Con. And we keep telling new origin stories, relaunching old superheroes. Marvel and DC do that all the time.
The multiverse.
The multiverse is kind of like a cheap way out of that. The contradictions. I think we should just embrace the contradictions. Life is full of them, and enjoy the way a story is told for each medium.
When you were writing this and the mental pictures of these characters, how does that line up with the casting?
There were certain people I hadn't come in mind when I was writing the characters originally. I would say, this happens as a fan of other works. Once you see who they cast, that just becomes the character. It starts to overpower whatever you had in mind. Because our imagination is only so strong. The visuals are much more powerful.
So what was the original spark for the Silent Spirits?
The original spark was a combination of a couple of things. One was I've always loved the Plato's analogy of the cave. The idea that we don't see the true shape of things. His analogy is that we're in a cave, there's a fire behind us, and we see shadows on the wall. And from those shadows, we try to deduce reality. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. But then I also noticed more and more at the time that I wrote the book, we were starting to get most of our reality from our screens, from our phones, our laptops, our TVs. And those became the new shadows on the wall. So I was thinking, what is this doing to us that we don't spend enough time out in the world seeing it for ourselves? We just assume whatever we see on the screen is real. And this was before deep fakes, this was before even CGI got all that great. And so I combined those two things into the wall screen and started thinking about what it would be like to live with just that universe.
Technology has changed so much since you wrote it. If you could go back and write this again, what would you change?
I'm terrified of that hypothetical. I think about it a lot. If I went back and I knew how successful this could be, I would mess it up every time. I just think I could write this without many people on my shoulder, which is how you feel when you have a future audience of millions. I wrote this for myself and eventually it was being serialized for a small number of fans, and I don't think I can recreate it any other way. If I went back and tried to change anything, I think I'd just ruin it, honestly.
So with this being a big hit and trying to move forward with that, what is the pressure like for you and how do you deal with that and still stay creative with all the pressure?
The trick I use now is I just assume whenever I'm writing, I'm never going to publish. I still write for myself. And it helps to write things that are kind of offbeat and away from the obvious sequel path. So even when I was writing this, after I saw Wolves, it was already a big hit before I could finish it. Before I wrote the fifth part, it was already a bestseller. So with Shift, I decided to take a departure, not just pick up from the last page, which is the natural tendency. But then it feels like you didn't finish it. You just are kind of recycling your content. And so I keep doing that. The last couple of things I published were short pieces with a co-author, and one was told on postcards, and the other was told as a journal, things I've never done before. I've done a few children's picture books. It's just a way of staying creative without ever feeling formulaic.
You mentioned some co-authors, so one of them being Michael Bunker, that you written with, and he wrote Hugh Howey Must Die, a little tribute to you. So what was it like for you to find out that he was writing that and see, like, 'cause it's kind of niche in this world.
Yeah.
Like, every once in a while someone was like, oh yeah, this book. So what's that like for you to have something like that written about?
Yes, at the time I was really active in some writers' forums, and when Wolf kind of took off, I had someone reach out to me and say, "Hey, I wrote a piece of silent fan fiction. Do you mind if I like put up on the fan fiction website?" And I was like, "Yeah, actually, I do mind because you can just put it on Kindle and sell it, and make some money." Like at the time, and to this day, I'm still like artists need to make a living if they can. So I promoted this person to like self-publish this piece of fan fiction, and they started making a little income on it. And so other people reached out and said, "Is this okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I've just had a very open attitude towards people writing in this world. So Michael is one of the people who I think he wrote maybe some sand fan fiction that he published. And yeah, anything to help other writers, I'm all for. We're all in it together. Like no one should be jealous of someone's success, or if someone else is selling a lot of books, that's getting people reading. Because my real competitor is all the other things you can do with your free time.
That's a really interesting idea because there is so much that could take attention. And like we really saw that resurgence in books just in general during the pandemic when everyone was tired of looking at their screens. So books that are important to culture.
Yeah. And we need more people reading. I think that's selfish of me because it's my hobby. Someone who works in film, things like we need more people going to the theaters. Like everyone has kind of a self-centered attitude towards the thing that sustains them, and that's really natural.
It's kind of a symbiotic relationship right now, like the books turning into movies, which then feed people to read the books, which get them reading and kind of just keep creating more content that way.
It's a golden age of entertainment. I think we should appreciate how many people make a living just entertaining each other. Like we used to all just be raising crops and trying to feed each other and protect each other and house each other. And as we're moving up that like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're getting to where more and more people are making a living up in the self-actualization and artistry part of that pyramid, and we should celebrate that.
What are you most excited for people to see in season 2 of Silo?
Oh man, I just I saw the rough cuts a few months ago. I just got the final cuts like the last few days. So my wife and I are like polishing off a couple of episodes a night as we rewatch the season. And there are some twists and turns that are so good that I read all the scripts, been on set, watching the dailies. I knew what was being put together. And while we're watching the season for the first time, as the final cuts, I was like, wait, did we change this? No, that person's not supposed to do that. The twists are so convincing that I thought we'd change the scripts. And then when it finally comes together the way I remembered, I was like, oh, that's right. We did this to fool everybody. But even I fell for it. Like, I know what's supposed to happen. So I think people are going to be in a panic up to a point, and I love that. Like, I just can't wait to see all the leaders who think they know what's going to happen, lose their minds this season.
What's your favorite way to build tension in a story?
I think honest dialogue. I don't know why. I get a lot of compliments about my dialogue feeling natural. When I'm writing, I hear their accent. I hear a woman's voice sound like a woman. It's not just my voice in my head. I hear like an old person, a young person. I hear the way they would talk, and I think the best way to build tension is to have very different characters with very different needs on the page communicating with one another, and that part's always come naturally to me. So.
I read a blog post on your website that you wrote recently about a recent trip to DragonCon and the chain of inspiration. Talk a little bit about the inspiration that you pulled from the people that come around you.
It's funny because I just wrote Nelson's book. I just got to meet one of my literary heroes, Timothy Zahn, get a signed book. It's the reason everyone gets into writing is some woman in writing. I knew who inspired me. I never thought I would inspire other people. And now I'm already I've been in this long enough that I've seen the people that I've inspired inspire other people. And the chain is so fast. And in 5 years, you can have, been inspired to write a book and then have something out that's inspiring the next author. And that's what we have to do. We have to keep, and that's what's complicated with the notion of AI learning from our writing and being used creatively. Like, we can be totally against that, while also acknowledging that that's how we learn to write. Like, I am absorbing Timothy's books and Orson Scott Card and all these other, like Neil Gaiman and Stevenson and Kate Jemisin. And I read their words and it makes me a different writer. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that, but it's something that we have to keep in mind as AI starts doing the same thing.
There is a special edition of Wolf floating around. Talk a little bit about what it was like for you to see it with all the shiny, pretty pages and the decision to make a new version of Wolf.
It's gorgeous. I have one copy at home. I should have brought it with me today just to show up at the panel. They were going to have copies here at Barnes & Noble for sale, but we've had some shipping delays.
Harper Alley has a couple.
Oh, they do? Wait, where is this?
One of the booths.
The Harper Collins. They're gorgeous. You've seen them?
Yes.
They're so beautiful. I don't think we've announced it yet. It might be spoiling it here, but we're going to do one for Shift as well, so we're working on that. And I can't wait to see them all together. I have so many requests for hardback copies. People are wanting they read on the Kindle, they have the paperback, they destroyed it. They want one copy to put on their bookshelf. And so instead of just reissuing the old hardback, we decided to make something really unique and special. But it's gorgeous. The dust jacket has some secrets inside. Yeah, the pages are beautiful. I'm really proud of it. It's stunning.
It's so shiny and pretty.
Yeah.
I was like, I know I just bought the box set after reading it digitally, and I was like, okay, I need something to sign, so I bought the box set, and then I saw those, and I was like, do I need a second copy?
You can't go wrong with the box set. That thing was beautiful too.
It's true. I love my box set.
I mean, even look at the stairs match on this side. Just keep going. It's just a spiral all the way around.
The design people knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
But Solo isn't the only show that you have going on based on your works. Talk a little bit about Beacon 23.
Beacon 23 I love. It was an amazing show to work on. We had 2 seasons. It's on MGM Plus, which I think you can access through Amazon as well. And yeah, it was just a beautiful set, beautiful scripts, incredible cast, and we got to tell it's hard to translate a short novel into 2 seasons of TV. So we got to expand the story and tell a much bigger, I think more interesting story than we just got to tell about.
So what's next for you?
Working on more TV shows, writing all the time, and got some silo short stories I'm going to collect into a new volume that we'll release between seasons, because we're going to keep working on the show and hopefully tell the whole story. I think 4 seasons we get to the whole story.
The book feels like this first season was just the first half.
Yeah.
So you can still speed things up a little bit.
Well, season 2 would be the second half of War, and then 3 and 4 we're going to combine Shift and Dust and tell them over 2 seasons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to give a shout out to my co-writer, Eleanor Taylor, who's here. We wrote 2 books together last year, and it's the first time we've seen each other since the books have come out. But if you haven't read any of her other works, she's just a phenomenal talent. She's a British writer, and don't get to see each other as often as we like. But Eleanor Taylor, check her works out. She's really, really an up-and-coming talent.
The last question we always ask, because this is Literary Hype, what books are you hyped about?
So I'm really enjoying Song of Achilles right now, the sequel to Circe. I think her writing is just sublime. So big on that. I'm always promoting some of my favorite sci-fi works that are very kind of literary and different. This is How You Lose the Time War is one of my favorites. And Tomorrow, which I know everyone's read at this point, but I still am looking for the people who haven't picked it up. Check that book out. It's so good.
I know, it was the pick of the month at Barnes & Noble, and
I put it off for over a year. Everyone was telling me to read it, and then when I finally read it, I was like, this is why everyone told me to read it.
One of my coworkers is a big preacher on that one.
It's not going anywhere.
It's not.
Don't worry about it.
My TBR is insane.
That's fine.
You still have many books that just roll
I love it. I'm going home in a box of books.
Let's all take home a box of books.
Exactly. You
It's
can't
the
have
best
too
way
many
to live.
books.
Reading books, buying books, and talking about books are all separate hobbies.
They're different hobbies. Yeah, you can't have enough hobbies.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk about
Thanks again to Hugh for hanging out with me at New York Comic Con and talking about all things Wool, Silo, and his other TV projects. If you'd like to get your hands on any of these books, as well as some of his other books, the links to do so are down in the description for you. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the Literary Hype YouTube channel, and share this with a friend. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.